We are also following a developing story from Washington as The New Yorker publishes an interview with President Obama with topics ranging from terror to pot use. But the headline grabbing the most attention now came from when the president turned the conversation to race. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry has more.
Good evening, Megan. Really some of the bluntest comments on race of his presidency, simply because he does not usually touch this subject. It is just so hot politically, but also because the context here is a long interview in the New Yorker magazine. In fact, a series of interviews over the last few months. This is over 17,000 words in the story itself. And the president was talking not just about his own role in history, but specifically why his poll numbers have been coming down so hard in recent months. Clearly, Republicans believe it's because of health care and other issues. The president, though, was saying that race is at least a factor here, though he quickly added that sometimes race can also help keep his allies on board. In full, the president saying, quote, "There's no doubt that there's some folks who just really dislike me because they don't like the idea of a black president." Now, the flip side of it is there are some black folks and maybe some white folks, the president says, who really like me and give me the benefit of the doubt precisely because I'm a black president. Interesting, that was also said in the context of the president's suggestion that may also be a factor in why he can't get a lot of his agenda passed on Capitol Hill. Maybe this has something to do with the Republican opposition to him on the Hill. The president, who likes the Godfather movies, even joked at one point in this interview that unlike Marlon Brando, he's found that when it comes to working with Congress, there's no such thing as an offer they can't refuse. Megan?
Ed, thank you. Joining me now for more on this, Mark Hanna, a 2008 campaign aide to President Obama and media studies adjunct professor with the New School, and Lars Larson of Compass Media, host of the Lars Larson Show. Guys, good to see you. And so the pushback on the president for this remark has been, how do you attribute falling poll numbers while you are president to your race? Lars?
Well, the president sees a lot of things through a racial lens. We've seen plenty of examples of that. The stupid cop in Cambridge, his typical white grandmother, and the Trayvon Martin case, certainly. And now he sees this. Anything that he does wrong that Republicans call him on and say he's not doing a good job, the president says they must not like me because of my race. I think it's pure baloney.
Mark?
I think that Lars's commentary here and the commentary you're going to hear from a lot of right-wing pundits is absolutely predictable. The president, though, said no such thing. And I just want to state from the outset on Martin Luther King's birthday that to call the president his, quote, race baiting, which somebody like Sarah Palin has done, is just shameful. Look, if we can all read the quote again. Lars, you, I, Megan, will all agree with the factual accuracy that, yes, indeed, there are people who don't like him because he's a black president.
Let me just stop you there, because when I first saw the quote, I said, what, explain the controversy. And my understanding is it's because it was raised as an explanation for why his poll numbers are falling.
Exactly.
He's the same race today as he was back in 2008, Mark.
That's not the case, though, because if he were to use this as an excuse for why his poll numbers were falling, why would he turn around and say, well, there are people who unjustifiably like me and give me too much credit because I'm a black president? You know,
but if you read the article, that is the context in which this is raised. Am I wrong, Lars?
No, that's exactly what he said. He's using race and saying these people don't like me because I'm black.
Let him finish. Go ahead, Lars.
No, he's saying these people don't like me because I'm black. And as you point out, an awful lot of Americans, the majority of whom are white, voted for him by a majority because they liked the ideas he put forward. Now, I'll admit, there probably were some bigots out in America who said, I'm not voting for him because he's black. And we all know that those numbers are tremendously small. And there were a large number of voters in some states who probably voted for him as a result of his race. The statistics seem to bear that out. But now he has to make excuses because his poll numbers stink right now. So he says, this must be an example of people disliking me because of my race. And he knows that in some quarters, that explanation will be welcomed.
What of it, Mark? Because a lot of people look at this and say, maybe Obamacare and the president being the one to offer lie of the year, according to PolitiFact. So that may have had more of an effect than the race, which you had the same race just a few years ago.
Right. He has been a black president for as long as he has been a president. Nothing there has changed. And so for him to somehow come out and say the rise and fall of his poll numbers is attributable to race, I think is absurd. And even Ed Henry in his report when he kicked it off, he said Yes, I read all 16,000 words, and that translates to about over 60 pages. So this was an extremely wide-ranging article, and race was brought up a number of times. It would be negligent for them not to bring up race for a first black president on Martin Luther King Day piece in the New Yorker. But Lars, even Ed Henry's setup of this piece said that the president was saying, "Oh, it could be a consideration for some people." So I don't know what the right wing is making why they've got all fixated on this and are so energized.
Let me just tell the audience that you mentioned Sarah Palin. I want them to know what she said on Facebook, which was, "Mr. President, in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. and all who commit to ending any racial divide, no more playing the race card." I got to go. Good debate, you guys.
How was that?
Thank you,
How was that playing the
Megyn.
race card? Thanks, Megyn.
See ya.